right, Matt. Well, we're back again.
Dead Week Part 2.
I don't want to say dead. It's only NBA stuff. Like next week, obviously, we'll have the big Mavs game to talk about. Lakers Mavs tomorrow, but um, there are a couple big games, but I think just sports media in general is kind of in a little bit of a lull right now, and it's only basketball, right? So anyway, um, yeah, let's get into some basketball talk. So obviously we'll start off with the team we cover the most, that being the Los Angeles Lakers. And we finally got a vintage Luka performance. And might I add, we finally got the Denver monkey off of our back. And I think I'll go into this game a little bit, even though I didn't watch it live, but just
Oh, that was an
watching
impressive game.
watching the highlights. Just had a few comments on the game itself. So I'll let you chime in after, Matt. But my key takeaways, obviously, right? You know what you're gonna get with this current Denver Nuggets team. You know, they have a lot of the same pieces from that championship run they made a couple years ago. And obviously everything runs through Nikola Jokic. Um, but the reason they've been so good is you can't forget about Jamal Murray, of course, Mike Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, right? Guys that play key roles for them. But I will say that at least over the past, 2 to 3 years, maybe, really two, that this is probably the most uncomfortable I've seen Nikola Jokic look playing the Lakers, right? Um, I mean, I still go back to that year we made it to the Western Conference Finals. Um, and as great of a defender as Anthony Davis is, like just the ridiculous, like I still can't get the
The one
one-legged,
leg shot
the one
to
leg
end the third
shot.
quarter.
Oh man, it still makes me sick to this day, right? But really, that's just why he's arguably the best player in the world, right? Because he can do ridiculous things, and he's even better as a facilitator running that Nuggets offense. But I will say that, first of all, got to give credit to Rob Pelinka and JJ Redick, right? Obviously, Rob putting the pieces around, or forming the pieces together for this team. Finally, I don't know why it took so long, but I've been harping 3 and D for ages, it seems like. And, we finally got guys like Dorian Finney Smith, obviously Jared Vanderbilt, maybe not as much of a two-way guy, but an elite defender. And, Gabe Vincent has been a nice surprise. Even Austin Reeves playing, better defense, Rui playing a little bit better defense than we've seen in the past. And I'll attribute that part, right? Because you can have the pieces together, but honestly, JJ Redick and his coaching staff, like the adjustments they've been able to make throughout the course of the season, adjusting, to so many different injuries, lineups, obviously the big trade. That's hard to do in season. JJ dealing with personal stuff, city of LA, dealing with personal stuff, and to kind of navigate all that and really come to see it all come to fruition against this Nuggets team, which quite frankly has owned the Lakers. No way to beat around the bush. Um, so for them to kind of finally put it all together, no Anthony Davis and no, like, I mean, Jackson Hayes has been good, but I wouldn't call him an elite defender at the center position, right? But for them to throw out that game plan and like blitz Jokic, almost like double, triple team him at times, right? Just deny.
Everybody was
Um,
getting on him.
but yeah, that's the thing that's been so encouraging this year. And not gonna knock on anyone from previous years, but
Darvin Ham.
I'll just say that you can really there's like a different vibe to this Lakers team on the court. It's almost like that 2020 slash 2021 ish season where the guys are genuine. You can tell there's a genuine, connection between the players. Like they're having a good time. and not to say that they haven't over the past several years, but it's kind of like you don't see the body language come out as you did at times when Darvin Ham is going over a play, right? And Anthony Davis is like, has a look on his face. LeBron has a look on his face. Guys are confused or, just like you don't see that really anymore, right? With JJ and these guys. So already I think that's been a huge improvement this year. But more, and I'm not a basketball like expert or anything like in regards to X's and O's, but I think it's pretty evident if you watch the Lakers over the past several years to see more adjustments throughout the year and quick adjustment. It doesn't take 5-10 games to change something. If something's not working, you know it's either an in-game thing or they make adjustments as game by game, opponent by opponent, right? It's not always going to be when LeBron's out, Austin Reeves steps up. Rui has been a solid fourth option for them. Just different guys playing different roles in different games, and honestly, it's encouraging to see, especially with Luka finally getting going. So, yeah, I really wanted to give those, front office and this coaching staff a lot of credit for finally coming up with a way. And I know it's only one game in the regular season in February. Like I get it, but it just felt like Denver has had this chokehold mentally too, right, over this Lakers team. Even JJ, Matt, I don't know if you caught that post game speech that he gave in the locker room, but he's saying, he couldn't sleep. So much anticipation for this
Yep.
game. And I'm sure a lot of those guys, well, mostly just really just LeBron and AR now more at this point that have been there, right? Through these past 2 years or kind of felt that. Well, I guess Rui and Vando, but yeah, finally getting the monkey off your back a little bit. It's like, hey, we can actually play with these guys and win, right? It's not going to be, oh, we're up at half. Oh yeah, we can do it, and something happens and Denver goes on a run. But I think it really instilled confidence in this group, this coaching staff, and really seeing Luka back. And he's not even 100% back to his usual self yet. I think that's pretty evident. But with each game that they play together, you can see the chemistry starting to build. Those first few games, right? It's a little out of sorts, right?
The mental part
Turnovers.
too. Like you
Oh
get
yeah,
traded, it's a totally different world that you're in now. So you have to take into account that people are human and we need to account for these things, like the
right.
mental part. So I mean, he's gonna take a few games at least
At
just to
least he's
get that
still,
part
yeah.
over.
He's still. It's still probably gonna take.
And he was out for what, 1, 2 months with the calf injury, so he hasn't been playing basketball. So that's another hurdle that he has to encounter. So there's a lot of things that Luka has had to deal with, you know, recently, I would say. So
Yeah,
he's gonna continue to get better, I think, and play himself into
yeah.
basketball shape.
Oh, definitely. And I think it just encouraging, even without a big. Like, I mean, okay, not without a big, not without like this one guy you can just plant on, Jokic and say, "Give me a stop." But I think I don't know if there is anyone in the league. Like, honestly, if Anthony Davis isn't going to be able to do it, right? Like, not a lot of guys out there that you can probably throw one on one against Nikola Jokic and have them come up with a stop more times than not. So I think JJ's kind of figured out the strategy. It really is going to take a team effort collectively. It's going to take all five guys on the floor being on the same page, hustle on every defensive possession. But that's why I like to see guys like Vando, even Goodwin off the bench, who's been huge for us since we signed him to the two-way, right? Gabe Vincent, another guy that's picked it up recently. And then you add DFS. Rui's playing, harder than I've seen him play defensively over the past 2 years. Austin Reeves, I think, has improved a lot as a defender. I think he kind of catches people off guard, right? Because you don't think he's that athletic, but you know, IQ wise, he's in position to take charges. He has good hands. He's knocking balls away, right? And obviously LeBron, we know LeBron can turn it on when he wants. So just really good to see like them be able to figure out how to play this type of small ball lineup, and just get out, run, get in transition. How many like times are we gonna see LeBron or Luka to LeBron, right? Um,
Like D Wade to LeBron back in the day.
yeah, and it's just LeBron leak and
Yep.
Luka's gonna hit him in stride, and yeah, it's good to see. This was a really good win. I feel really good now because I thought that was a big test. Thought Denver was gonna be the
Yep.
big test, you know. Because that really like I'm not too scared of a lot of these other teams still, in the West, but Denver was the one. It's like, man, you said it last week, right? We're gonna have to avoid Denver. Um, but I don't know. Maybe this just gives me a little bit of hope. That we have a chance
I
at
mean,
least.
I want to preface this. I'm not a Lakers fan. I'm a LeBron fan, but because he's on the Lakers, I want him to win. I want them to do well. But being a basketball fan, I think it's great that the Lakers and Nuggets play each other. I think that makes for great TV. So do I? Yeah, I probably wouldn't mind that, honestly, from a basketball fan, just to see, the history behind these two teams and how the Nuggets have dominated over the years. But for the Lakers standpoint, kind of a, I guess, important win because I guess JJ kind of laid the blueprint to how to contain the Denver Nuggets. I'm not going to say stop them, but almost contain. It's just blitz Jokic. I mean, I honestly didn't really see a lot of Jackson Hayes on Jokic. It was more Rui, LeBron. I think Vanderbilt had him a little bit. So it's kind of like those big, stronger wings in a sense. And then I kind of like using, Jackson Hayes. Obviously, he can block shots, but more of like a weak side shot blocker, not a guy that's going to, one on one in that type of setting. So I think that's the recipe. I think you just got to blitz Jokic, and a lot of it is pray that the other guys just don't have it. I saw Aaron Gordon there, like almost daring him to shoot, giving
Mhm.
him like practice 3 pointers. So are you going to live with that? Probably versus him, getting a backdoor dunk. That's probably a little more demoralizing mentally. Um, but I think I watched this Denver game. They're definitely not as deep. They have the same structure, but they don't have KCP. And when they won the championship, they had Bruce Brown too. So there was couple more guys on the wing, a little more depth. But now it's what Russ off the bench, and I mean Laker fans should know what to expect from him. Sometimes like he can shoot you out of the game if he's on your team. Sometimes, so the depth isn't there. I think so. That's the blueprint. But I'm just curious if they play each other in the playoffs and they blitz, as I'm sure JJ is going to do this. And if Jokic starts passing and feeding all these guys and they're hitting shots, what's the adjustment going to be? Like, is he just going to stay the course or is he going to pivot to do something? But I think JJ has kind of shown that he can make adjustments pretty quickly. I think more in game, I would say. So that was pretty impressive. But one of the things that was actually good for the Lakers is I think Luka. This is like the first time I felt like Luka was the guy.
Mhm.
Like they're like, yeah, Luka, you be you. You go be Dallas Luka today. Like LeBron was kind of the backseat guy. And honestly, he was great at it. He was, getting the backdoor dunks. He was just
I
leaking
think
in
this is what he's
transition.
been wanting to kind
Like,
of do for a long
honestly,
time.
that might be the best thing. Like Luka, that he can be comfortable in that role. That's how he's always played. And for LeBron, he's 40 years old. He's old as heck. Like he kind of can keep it on cruise control a little bit, and he can put a little more effort defensively, I think, which is huge for this team.
Or at least to have it later in the
Yeah,
game too,
that's
right?
that's yeah, and
I think that
obviously he can turn that on too anytime. So I don't know. Maybe I think that might be the way they go on offense now. It's more Luka, and then you're kind of making LeBron kind of like that, almost like a slasher in a sense. Like, he's so good at attacking the rim, probably the best we've ever seen in the league all time. So why not keep that to him and then just let him kind of conserve. And when it's crunch time in the fourth quarter, then King, you go be King James and
And
take
it's
that team
because
home.
who are you gonna you got to double one of them,
Yeah,
right?
and they both can pass.
And let's not forget Austin Reeves as a third option now is kind of insane. Like Austin has been on a tear this year, right? Um, so you can't forget about him. They space the floor so well too, right? You have the lob threat at times, or if we really do go small, and we go with kind of this, if
Death
Jackson
lineup
Hayes
with
isn't going to be
Dorian
in, yeah,
Finney-Smith.
you throw Dorian Finney-Smith in, who's a sniper too, right? Like Rui, you can't leave him open. He will
Mm-hmm.
knock down an open three. You can't leave Doe open, AR. So like they space the floor so well, there's not
Mm-hmm.
going to be any rim protection. You run a Luka LeBron pick and roll. It's kind of like, okay, pick your poison. You're gonna have to live with potentially one of these guys having an open shot, or right, if you choose not to double Luka, then okay, good luck. Whoever's gonna guard him 1-on-1, right? But like you said, Matt, it was really just good to see him get back to that almost Dallas Luka, right? He's been kind of in this weird, like, still getting adjusted to the team and processing the trade, which I'm sure is still really hard for him because Dallas meant so much to him, his family, and his career. But saw the fire come back out. Like
Yeah, he's
he's
screaming at the
yelling,
crowd.
he's
Yeah.
screaming, right? Like that's that Luke, that's that playoff Luka we saw, over the past several years with Dallas. And kind of take over games. And, honestly, when he gets hot, it's like, forget it, right? If he's efficient from three, like I'm sorry, it's
Can't stop
over
him.
because he literally has everything. When the three ball is going like it's going, like if you remember last year that
The
closeout
Wolves
game,
game.
yeah, and he just got insanely hot in the first quarter. Like it's wraps. I'm sorry, there's nothing you can really do about it. So yeah, just really good to see. Like you said, Matt, but I mean, we're in the midst of a pretty tough stretch right now.
Yeah.
Shout out to Adam
That's
for
why
that
I'm
one.
not gonna like get too hyped about one game against Denver because they're gonna be battle tested for the rest of the season in this latter half of the home stretch.
I
So
mean, yeah, you really just this
this is a good test, I think. You got
upcoming
OKC,
homestand. Yeah.
Bucks a couple times,
And you got the Knicks coming into town too. And then you gotta go
Celtics.
to Boston. You got at Milwaukee, at Denver. So it's a tough, yeah, like you said, it's a tough stretch that we have, right? But really, Matt, tomorrow's the game. Like everyone's gonna want to see that one
I would
tomorrow.
say it would have been if Anthony Davis was playing.
Yeah, it's
Like
a
that's
little
a
hard,
killer.
but I think it's more now like the Luca revenge game. Like,
Yeah.
and he just got his legs back under him too. You
Oh,
know,
didn't we say last week? Oh, he's gonna get it going on Tuesday. Well,
yeah,
is it the prequel was a Saturday, so he
yeah.
dropped
Let
32. He might drop 50 tomorrow.
let's call. Give me a stat line, man. I want a stat line from you.
Okay, then we gotta revisit this next week.
Yeah,
Okay, Luca, I say he goes 30 10, triple double, 30 10 and 10.
30, 10, and 10.
Yep.
See, I was think I don't know if he's gonna. I
I
think
think he's
he's
gonna get
gonna
triple
be
double.
aggressive. I think Dallas obviously is gonna know that he's gonna want to put the ball in the basket. Even with that being said, I think he takes a lot of shots. In this one, I think they're gonna encourage him to take a lot of shots. But I'm gonna go with 40. I think he goes at
You
least
think
for
he's gonna get
40.
40?
Yeah, if the shot is feeling good, give me 40. I think he'll go like 48 and 8 or something like that. So that's what I got for
See, but I feel
tomorrow.
like
I just think
Dallas
he's gonna go
Dallas wants
nuts.
to frustrate him. I feel like they want to just make him uncomfortable. So, I feel like he might get a lot of assists because if you double Luca, you got LeBron, you got Austin Reeves, you got Hachimura in the corner. Like, well, a hot Rui is pretty good for this
Yeah.
team. So he's got a lot of weapons if Rui stays hot.
Oh yeah.
You dish
Rui
that ball
being
to.
that fourth option has been huge, I think, thus far. Um,
Yeah.
so really good. Like people were questioning like, oh, why didn't you trade Rui? You
I was one of
know,
those guys.
but I'm like, dude, like people forget what he did to the Timberwolves a couple years ago in that playoff run, right? And I do really think he's improved as a defender. I think he still can. He's been better at like the rebounds and the tap outs offensively and stuff, which has been encouraging to see. But just when he's playing hard and locked in, um, it's good stuff. So tomorrow, I guess we'll see, Matt. It's going to be the big test. Um, I'm really looking forward to that one. So we'll see how that one goes.
I want to see them when they play in Dallas, though, because I think AD should be back by then, and then Luka coming home to Dallas would be
Well, do they
something.
play Dallas the rest of the year?
I think in
Oh
April
yeah,
they play
towards
in
it. Yeah,
Dallas.
oh yeah, and that'll probably be a important game for seeding too, right? At that point,
Hmm.
so
I
yeah,
think so. And the
that'll
Mavericks
be a good
Mavericks
one.
are going to be healthy, I think, or healthier.
Hmm.
The
Yeah,
Lakers should win tomorrow on paper. Like you
on
think
paper
like
they
they don't
definitely
have
should win.
Lively, they don't have Gafford, they don't
No,
have
100% they
AD.
should win. Yeah, I agree.
Luca's
Um,
not on the team. Like
yeah, it should be a stomp, but you know how these games go, right? It's the NBA.
yeah, Uncle Drew might
Anything can
just
happen. Yeah, Kyrie's gonna say, "Hey, don't forget about me," you know. So, um,
Clay gonna throw back the hand of time.
you never know.
Yeah.
Um,
Max Christie
so,
revenge game.
yeah, I'm sure they're all looking for to play spoiler to Luca's revenge game. So it'll be interesting. But yeah, I think that'll probably be pretty good for the Lakers at least. Not too much other basketball stuff to discuss here. One of them I know you got highlighted here, Matt. The Knicks. I didn't even know this, but I didn't. I guess they're 0-7 against all the top teams out in the East. Um,
Yeah, ESPN had that stat. I was like, huh, interesting.
so I
Because they're a
mean,
nice roster. They have a nice roster, I think. Bridges, I think Josh Hart, one of my favorite players, just typical role player, knows what he's doing, just wins. And then the trade with Cat, I think that was a really good trade, but they can beat everybody, but if you can't beat the top dogs, then how are you gonna get to the finals?
yeah, I mean, the one thing I guess I'll say about the Knicks now is, are they deep enough? Like,
Well, with Tibbs, he just burns
I
his
know he runs them
main
into the
guys.
ground anyway, but like I don't know. I still think you need like to be at least eight-ish deep. Like, and I don't know. I just don't know if they have the firepower off the bench. I also don't watch the Knicks a ton, right? But I don't know. Like, are you gonna rely on like Precious Achua to give you valuable minutes? I don't know. Maybe. Um,
Deuce McBride is spelling Brunson, but it's
yeah.
like outside of Brunson, he's really the primary, I guess, ball handler, shot creator for the team. Like I like Bridges and Ananobi, like wing wing guys can make threes, can defend at a high level,
I
but
I
you
I
don't run your offense through them. It's
yeah,
it's through
and
Cat and Brunson.
I also think that it's harder for this team to play from behind. Like with
Yeah.
how they play, so like Jalen Brunson, like you said, handle heavy. Um, it's not like they can't come from. They have the talent, right? Like you said, Bridges, Ananobi, Hart. They like this whole all five guys on the court can shoot, right? So they can get hot, but it's just their style of play. I feel like I don't know. I think if they fall behind early, it's a little bit harder for them to scratch and claw their way back into games. Um, but I'm not going to count them out just yet. I think they still got some time to figure things out. But to me, they are definitely the 3 seed in the East. Like, I think I'm taking Boston and Cleveland over them at the current
Yeah.
moment, too. So,
Yeah. But if you're the 3 seed, guess who's probably, at least if it shapes up right now, who's probably going to be the 2 seed in the East is the defending champs.
yeah.
So good luck with that because that's a potential second round matchup.
Yeah.
I don't know. The Celtics are just on cruise control right now.
Mhm. And even if the standings kind of hold, Detroit, I think, is a sleeper team that they're young, they can give you problems. We know the Pacers can give you problems, as we saw last year, right? So, yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna bail on the Knicks just yet, but um, yeah, gonna need to see them kind of beat some of the top dogs to
Yeah. I
feel a
mean,
little bit better about them.
you're a pretender until you can prove that you can play with the big boys. And right
Right.
now the big boys are obviously the Celtics being in the East, they're the defending champs. So if you can't beat them, how are you gonna get out of the East? And then Cleveland has taken the next step. Still got Giannis there. Yeah, it might not be a formidable Giannis team, but if a healthy Giannis is there, he's still going to be a tough guy to beat 4 out of 7 times in a playoff series. So good luck with that.
Yeah. Um, well, the East, I mean, like I like some of the teams at the bottom, but really, like they're top heavy. I think we,
Yeah, they're
kind
like
of,
top 4 or 5 heavy.
yeah. Um, so we'll see. But one team that we'll kind of end basketball talk with, and I'm sold now. Like I kind of sprinkled the idea last week of this team hitting the reset button. The Sixers have to blow it up. Like I'm so, like to have Paul George, Joel Embiid, and Tyrese Maxey on your team, and to be two seeds out of the play in, like what are we doing? Right? I get they've been hit by injuries. I get it, right? But when you're going to invest, Tyrese Maxey, Paul George, Joel Embiid, Uber is a nice piece. They got some vets. It's just not working, right? Like it doesn't help they lost probably the guy that was on pace to be rookie of the year and Jared McCain because he was honestly carrying that team right for a
Mm-hmm.
little bit, especially when Maxi and all those boys were out. So that does hurt a little bit, but clearly it just wasn't meant to be. I think. I think if I'm who's the GM now? Is it? It's not still um
It's not
Maury, is
Maury,
it?
right?
Is it still him? I was just about
Let's
to say
see.
it.
76.
Oh, Elton Brand. That's right. But Daryl
Oh,
Morey is
yeah.
like the top guy. So they were. I mean, they kind of work in tandem, right? I think if
Yep.
I'm that front office, hit the reset button. We've gone through the tank before, and it worked to a certain degree, right? They had a couple big playoff runs, but I'm sorry, you just can't rely on Joel Embiid anymore to stay healthy. Like Paul George isn't that same elite superstar that he once was, at least on this team. Maybe it's still in there somewhere, but it's just not clicking. Like to me, the guys you keep are Maxi and maybe even and McCain. If you can figure out a way for them to play at the same time, great. If not, just hit the reset button, choose one, and get picks. Go the OKC route or just straight up tank. I don't know, but to me, with how this team is currently constructed, like you're not going to make one or two moves and suddenly this team is a playoff team or even a play-in team. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know, right? So they got to get younger. I think they got to get, a little bit more athletic, better defensively. And like, I can't believe that they've lost 8 in a row now, man. Today, like getting blown
Not
out by
bad.
32 at home to the Chicago Bulls with Paul George and Tyrese Maxey both playing, like, can't like can't have that happen. Um, like Paul George minus 28 today.
Awful.
It's just
Everything with
not.
this team starts with Embiid. I mean,
Yeah,
he's the face of the franchise. So he sets the tone for everybody.
and if he's not
And
even gonna be on the court, right?
the
Like,
best thing you can do for your team is be available. And he's not consistently. I think I saw like a stat that he played like 450 games and he's missed like 452 or something. Like
he's
basically half
it's
the
yeah
games of his career.
yeah So it is disappointing, but I think you just have to swallow the tough pill and admit that it's not going to work
Yeah.
with.
I feel like you can get value for you blow it up, you can get value for Joel Embiid. Somebody is gonna pay, multiple first round picks for Embiid. Paul George, maybe you get one. I don't know. But
I still think Paul George has a
I
lot
think
more
I
value,
think
honestly, than
you can get stuff for them. It's not like they're like
yeah. Well, Joel
absolutely
Embiid
declining.
was an MVP a couple years ago, right? So he's not
Yeah,
like
Paul George was an all-star last season, so it's
right.
not like it's 2, 3 years ago.
It's just for whatever reason it hasn't come together in Philly with this unit. And I think the fans are frustrated. I think the players are probably really frustrated. So I say hit that reset button, blow the whole thing up, um, try again and tank for whoever's the next. It's too late to tank for Cooper Flag, but whoever's coming up next, I think. Um,
Bryce James.
well, I don't know if Bryce is going to be the lottery pick, but um, yeah.
Oh, but then
Anyway,
they can recruit LeBron.
right in like what 2 or 3 years?
Hey,
Yeah,
he could still play if he really wanted to.
yeah. He's ending his career in LA. I think we all know that. But anyway, yeah. I think that's good for basketball. I don't really have a ton this week to discuss, but
Yeah, then we got Wemby's out, and then I
yeah.
was
So
watching
Wemby's out.
Court of Gold, so it's like, oh, that sucks.
Yeah, I mean that was a we can touch on that really quick. So if for those of you with Netflix, there's the Olympics for the Team USA Olympics basketball like mini docu series thing. It's pretty cool, to get that inside look at this run. And I think the question that really or not even the question, the narrative that I think has been reflected even more so now is really the elevated skill of the rest of the world in today's game, right? Because they talked about the dream team a lot, right? How these coaches, from France, from Serbia, they wanted to beat the USA for so long, going all the way back to right the dream team, and to the credit of today's generation, um, yeah, okay, the game isn't as physical, right? Although the older, basketball heads are going to say, well, they couldn't play in our game because we were so physical and we were this and that and didn't have all these rules to protect the offensive players. And yeah, that's probably true to a certain extent, right? Like Steph would get bodied a lot more back then, would make things a little bit harder for him. But at the same time, there's no denying the fact that the overall skill level of players, not even just in the NBA, but across the world now, um, has rapidly, exponentially increased since the 80s, 90s. Um, and so I think that's why now that the Olympics are going to be so much more exciting moving forward, right? I mean, Serbia and France were right there, a couple possessions away from dethroning the U.S. I really thought, Matt, that Serbia game.
Oh yeah, I was sweating.
I was like, oh my gosh, we're gonna have to accept a third place match. Like I truly thought that until the good old trio saved the day. Braun, Katie, and Steph. Luckily, put the USA on their backs, and obviously we know what happens in the gold medal game when Steph get solidified himself in Olympics and really basketball history, right? So yeah, it was just an interesting look in depth to see how much these teams really want to beat the US, and quite frankly, I'm a little concerned for the next Olympics. France, hopefully, Wemby will be good by then. Obviously a little scary with that deep vein thrombosis. I think ended Bosch's career. It
Mhm.
seemed to affect these like taller, lankier
Brandon
guys.
Ingram.
right?
But he recovered. Brandon Ingram
So
recovered.
yeah, Wemby's still young. I think the entire nation of France and their medical team will be willing to help, right? Do whatever,
All
provide
the
whatever they
government money
can.
is going to
Yeah.
Wemby's
So
research and recovery.
yeah. And obviously the Spurs, right, are gonna pour every
Oh
ounce
yeah.
of medical attention they possibly can into their savior. So yeah, hope wishing for a speedy recovery for Wemby, but I mean, really just thinking ahead to that Team USA team, like it's gonna have to be the what Ant and Tatum show probably, like Jalen Brown
Jaylen
is gonna have a
Brown.
big contribution. Um and then from there it's kind of like, the bigs nowadays are still dominated by maybe AD is still there,
Well,
but
Bam.
Bam is probably gonna have to play a key role. Like guys like Evan Mobley,
Mobley. That's true. That's a good one. I think he would be pretty good. His length.
Potentially the Thompson twins, right, are gonna have to be.
Cooper
Wait,
Flag.
they're American, right? I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
they're.
Cooper
Cooper
Flag.
Flag will probably be a one of the key
Or
younger
he'll be
guys,
in discussion, I think.
but yeah, then in comparison though, right? Like, is that going to be enough firepower for France and all these other teams that even kind of are starting to surprise people. South Sudan, remember the run they had was kind of crazy, upsetting some people. Can't count out teams like Germany, Spain, um,
Canada.
right? Like
Canada is
Canada's
Shea
right
is
there.
right there.
And they were a heavy favorite in this tournament. So I mean, the level of basketball player and the amount of superstars on each team now, right? Like maybe Luka's healthy enough to play again too.
Mm,
So can't forget about him.
yeah.
It's gonna be, yeah, it's gonna be kind of
It's
like,
kind of crazy because you look at the documentary, like okay, outside of the US, like who are the three other teams? France, Victor Wembanyama, Canada has Shea, and then Serbia has Jokic. That's maybe potentially three MVPs. Well, I mean Jokic already has three, but Shea might win this year. I have no
easily
doubt Wemby, if he
he'll be
stays
in
healthy,
contention for
will win
sure.
multiple MVPs. So like Giannis, on Greece, Luka,
Even like
Slovenia,
Team Australia has a lot of guys that can play,
yeah,
and as we've seen, right? Like,
the global superstars, the best players in the NBA now are international guys.
yeah, and just teams that play together, have all this experience, right, can sometimes trump sheer star power, right? So I think the other thing that's scary about the Olympics too is once you get to those knockout rounds, it's like it's a one and done.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no like series, right? It takes one bad game.
Yep.
Um so to me, right, the scary thing, and this is still what 3 years out now, so we have some time, but who is going to take that leap for the US, like to put on the cape and say, I'll save the day, right? Because we've had Steph, KD, and LeBron for so long, and really you can rely on those guys, right, to say, I'll put on the cape, um you know and carry this team. Who's gonna be that guy for Team USA? Like, do we trust Jason Tatum? I know like he has the potential, but is he at that same level LeBron was at? When they were the same age, or Ant. Like I can see the
People want
potential.
Ant to
I
be the
really
guy,
and
I
I
think.
want Ant to be the guy too. Like he has that, like the basketball charisma and that fire, but I mean, he's still young, so there's a lot of potential that he could be that next guy, like Captain America, right? But I'm just thinking, like, man, right? Who's gonna be the one to rise above the Shays, the Jokic's, the Giannis's, the Lukas? So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. It does paint an interesting picture though, where it's like, man, who's gonna be that guy? Like, I think Book should still be there. He'll probably still be around.
Mm,
Um,
that's a good one.
so like, yeah, it just didn't feel like the torch was passed to anyone in particular this
No,
Olympics, right?
Well, they won because of the old heads. So I mean,
Exactly. So it's like, okay, I'm a little bit worried for the 2028 Olympics. It's in LA, right? Is that the LA
yeah,
Olympics?
LA Olympics.
So yeah, also hopefully LA is rebuilt by then too. Cause
Jeez.
yeah. Um
I
but
was on record. I remember I said when the Olympics finished that France would win a gold medal in basketball in the next two Olympics.
I mean I
I,
still
I
think that's
I'm
possible.
gonna hold firm on that one. Not that I want I want Team USA to
Well,
win,
they got like who
but
Sar
man,
and Richache and like a lot of young talent coming out of France. They're just
yeah.
these unicorns that are 7 feet that can all dribble and shoot.
And
Like,
in two Olympics from now, I think Wemby is going to be 28. So
yeah,
that's like right in the prime of his career. So
yeah,
his his skill set is just going to be on another level if he stays healthy.
yeah. I'm honestly genuinely scared for Team USA. And who's even the coach now? Because Steve Kerr
They got to
relinquished
get a
that
new
title,
guy.
right?
That's another thing. They got to get a new coach. I feel like all these USA coaches outside of Coach K was like four and like Pop. Pop was like 4 years and Steve Kerr was 4 years and done. So they only have really like one Olympics.
I could
Uh,
see Spolstra or Ty Lue would be okay. Um, I think one is gonna. I mean, don't count out JJ now though. Like, I think JJ legit
See,
has a
that would be
chance.
interesting because I feel like what these international guys are, they have, like who's the France coach? He's been coaching, or in the Serbia coach, they've been coaching for like 15, 20 plus years
Hmm.
with this national team. So they have a good feel of it. So maybe the US, since there's really no guy to kind of like, hey, and are you the guy? I don't know. Jason Tatum, are you the guy? I don't know. Like nobody really has that title yet. Maybe that's where the coach comes in and you can get a young coach and he's the coach for Team USA, like Coach K at least for the next 10, 15 years. You can get a nice, you know, core, I think, developed. So that's a good point. I never thought about that. JJ's young. If he does well over the next couple of years with the Lakers, he might be an option.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Well, we'll
Or
see.
LeBron comes back to be the coach.
That's what I know. Him and Steph were like joking around about or something. So,
They're going to be
well,
the first ever player coaches.
yeah. Honestly, we might need them to just get out there and save us again.
Just play the fourth quarter, you know.
Yeah. But I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm a little worried.
But basketball is going to be very competitive for the next few years, for the Olympics, I would say.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, that about covers all the NBA stuff for now. We'll come back. It's a lot of good basketball this week, and should get more interesting as we approach the playoffs anyway, right? So, we can end it for that. Why don't we get into some UH stuff because we have some things in swing. Uh, I don't want to talk about the men's basketball anymore. We should just start talking about the women's because they're first place in the Big West, right? So uh, at least they're putting on some pride for um, the islands because man, we took a licking uh, in on the men's side at least. We lost by nearly 40 points.
39-point loss.
39 points. I get we're on the road. Like, I get it. And I get UC San Diego is a really good team. But 39 in a conference game, that just can't have it. And I think, unfortunately, well, maybe you probably are fortunately for you, like this is probably it for good not. Unless they make, can they even still make the tournament at this point, Matt? Like they need
Well,
to win
they
and they need help.
currently, luckily, the bottom half of the Big West has been losing, so Hawaii hasn't really lost any ground. But currently, they are number 7 in the Big
Jeez.
West. But Cal Poly sits at number 9, and they're one game back. But number
Jeez.
9 is important because only the top 8 make the tournament.
Okay.
So it's
So we
they
basically need to win probably
have 4 games left,
at least two.
at least 2. But honestly, I'm like, okay, they could easily lose all 4 of these games, and I would not be surprised. UC Riverside, UC Davis at home, senior night. They should win that just for senior night. But then I'm worried because they finish on the road and they play Bakersfield, and that might be a pretty important game for seeding, 7 and 8, like who gets in, who doesn't. Always on the road. That doesn't give me confidence. And then they played Northridge end the season.
Well, I think
They
yeah.
absolutely blew us out at home. So I'm a little worried. I'm a little worried. Part of me wants them to lose out because I want change.
Well,
But
Ron
I
Goddard is
have
definitely
no.
coaching for his life right now. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, I hope so, but I don't know. This the UH thing, it's like I don't know what the yeah, there's the behind the scenes stuff, but what is the reality like reasoning to keeping this guy for so long? Like 10 years already, and he's won nothing. Because I don't count that first year because that wasn't his players.
Yeah, you're right.
That
I
was Gib
know.
Arnold's
We always talk
players.
about that. Yeah.
It's like, okay, fine. Like you maybe you were the guy that put them over the hump, but you need players like that can actually play basketball and have talent and are coachable. But now we have guys that are, I guess you could say, coachable, but no talent. So in college basketball, it's different from the NBA or, all these professional teams. Like you need talent. You need talent to win.
Yep.
And the NBA, the talent level, it's like right there. Everybody's good in the NBA. College basketball, you got wide range of spectrum of skill sets. So if you can't get talent, I don't care how good your system is. It's not gonna it's not gonna be good for you. And right now our system looks horrible because we can't even score 50 points in back-to-back games. So that's crazy. We're under 100 points in two combined games. Horrible. Horrible. So yeah, I think they need to make change. They should just look at what they did with the UH baseball team, honestly. They had Trapasso there for a little bit too long. Look what happens when you make a coaching change and you bring in the right guy, building his culture, building a program up, and voila. It's like people are loving this baseball team now. Like Rich Hill passed 100 wins in like what, 2.5, a little over 2 years, I think. So he's been on a roll, maybe 3 years, but just that change just gives a breath of fresh air, I think. And for Hawaii, they need to change now because in 2 seasons, they're going to be playing in the Mountain West for basketball. And that's probably 10 times more difficult than the Big West. So if we can't win now, how are we going to survive against these bigger boys? So I don't know.
Honestly,
It's bad. It's
honestly, I'm
bad.
just gonna start watching the women's. Like
Yeah.
their first place, they've
Well,
been on a tear too without arguably was one of their better players who's I didn't even know she got suspended or right.
Deja.
Yeah, like she's suspended indefinitely from the team or something. But I mean they're still winning, right? So first place in the conference, like it was I'm still scarred from that one men's basketball game that I watched. Like I'm still gonna support them, right? Like there's still a chance they can make a run in the Big West.
No, there isn't.
It's
I have no
it's
hope.
March Madness, right? They call it
You're
madness
right.
for a
You're
reason. We've
right.
seen crazier things. So I'm not going to rule them out yet, but I think I need to show the Wahine some more love because at least they're putting on and representing for Hawaii
Yep.
basketball. So probably
Yeah,
be
Hunter
talking
told
about
me
them
he's
a
going
little
up
bit
to
more.
Vegas for the Big West tournament. I was like, bro, you're only gonna watch the Wahine at this point
Yeah.
because the men's might not even make the tournament.
Yeah. So hopefully they keep doing well. And then, you know what? I also need to shout out our alumni, the pilots, the lady pilots, who for the past it's 2 years now have dominated the WCC. So they're still first again, and I really like their chances to go dancing again. So hopefully they can keep it up and make it a I guess three times back to back to back in the tourney, and hopefully they get a win this year. But um yeah, I got to shout out to them too because the
Yeah,
men's
doesn't
team is the same as the UH men's. Like they're seventh in the West Coast Conference, and I highly doubt they're making a run. So
no
um yeah. Anyway, that's
crazy.
about it.
Yep.
That I got for UH and a little bit of Portland stuff. So um I guess
Quick
we
hitters.
can also, or do you want to talk about baseball at all? I haven't kept up too much. I know they're winning. They have a lot of walk offs so far,
They're
which is
it's
cool.
crazy. Three
Um,
walk-offs. I don't know, man. There's just something
they
about this
find a way to
team.
win.
Yeah, like they've had the timely hits, I would say. Two outs, like who's gonna get the big hit and somebody delivers. Like a team that has no real, they're not a power team,
Hmm.
really built on small ball, base stealing. Um, but that's kind of how Hawaii athletes are, right? We're not the biggest, strongest guys on the planet. We can't compete with guys in Texas or California in terms of physical stature. Um, but can we beat you with small ball, stealing bases? Yeah, probably. I don't know. I think they look pretty good right now. It's still early, and they're not fully healthy yet, which is kind of crazy. Um, no, Jordan is hurt. Donahue, he's starting shortstop,
Mm.
getting a lot of hype. Got hurt in the first game. I think he's out for like 4 to 6 weeks, so that's a big blow. But kind of shows like, hey, like you lose your starting shortstop basically from the first game, and you can pivot and adapt, and you have guys that can play all over the field, versatile. I think that's a huge thing to have. So the roster looks pretty good right now. I mean, the only thing is the power hitting. Like sometimes you need a guy that can just smack a home run, but you know, can't can't be perfect sometimes, but they just find a way to win sometimes, and that's it's kind of just all it takes in baseball sometimes. Kind
Yep.
of winning in different ways. Like they can win in shootouts, and they've shown they can win in pitchers duels too. So far, I think it's so good. The Manoa, the Manoa magic is real right now.
Oh yeah. Let's hope they stay hot.
Yeah, stay
Would be
hot and
fun to
stay
see
healthy because
them.
I want to see them make the Big West tournament because now they just got to get in the top four in the Big West, and they legit have a chance to go to the tournament this year.
Hmm.
College World Series would be pretty nice, but
Yeah, that'd be sick.
one at a time.
Um, okay. Well, I think that's good. Now we can get to our kind of quick hitters and stuff here, Matt. Um, why don't you start us off with your Jerry Jones?
Well, fitting for this week. Jerry Jones Award winner Skip Bayless. I don't know if you saw the his video on Twitter.
Oh no. Which
Oh,
one?
you should watch it. I think it was like a day ago.
What did he do
He
now?
it was a vent, but he had his Brandon Aubrey jersey on, and he had this whole vent. And at the end of the video, he puts on a Jalen Hurts Eagles jersey. It's like
Ew.
you call yourself a Cowboys fan. I don't care how much I hate the Cowboys and they piss me off. I am not putting on a division rival jersey. I don't care if I like that player on the other team. Like if you say you like a team, you stick with that team. And I don't care. I have suffered through years and years and years and years with this Dallas Cowboys team, but I will never wear Kelly Green and especially the Eagles jersey. So kind of disrespectful. But yeah, Skip Bayless, bad look for you, my man. Like now, no one. I mean, he already had a tough time beating the crowd on social media, but now really no one is going to respect what you say
Well,
from Dallas
Skip.
Cowboy fans. And I saw like stuff on Twitter. It's like, as the Eagles fan, we don't want you anyway. So it's like, yeah, see, you're making a fool out of yourself, Skip. Stop.
Yeah. Okay. I'm trying to think who I would give my tribute to this week. Could go a lot of ways. but
Let me
mm,
guess. Luka Doncic
oh yeah, I kind of have to go with Luca,
or
right?
JJ.
It was between the I I I was gonna give I was leaning a little bit more towards JJ just because uh I just like the scheme they rolled out and what they were able to do to stop Denver. So yeah, a little bit boring, but I'll give it to JJ
JJ.
this week. Yeah.
All right. Sports fact of the day. We're recording on February 24th, and I'll go back to 2020. And this was the very famous memorial service date for Kobe Bryant, the one in Staples Center, where all
Mm,
basically basketball royalty was
yep.
enshrined in Staples Center for a few hours, telling stories about the Mamba. And then Michael Jordan had his second crying meme, I think, that day. So, yeah, that was a crazy. I mean, 2020 was obviously a crazy year for everybody, but I remember that memorial service, and that was pretty intense and in some ways hard to watch, you know? So, shout out Kobe. It's been 5 years
Yeah.
already.
Still can't
Crazy.
believe it's been that long. Jeez. Okay. All right. Other than that, yeah, it's gonna be a little bit short until we have more stuff and like playoffs start rolling around. So we'll keep it short and sweet again this week. Yeah, Matt, I don't really have anything else. So we'll wrap it here. As usual, guys, thank you again for listening. Thanks for sticking with us. Maybe we'll try to get some guests on here pretty soon. I don't know. We'll see.
No, we
Um,
will. We will.
yeah,
We'll
make things a
spice it
little
up.
bit more interesting. But yeah, we'll figure
People
something
are
out.
tired of hearing us ramble. They want to hear other people ramble at
That's
least.
fair. Um, but yeah, we'll keep it going next week. So as usual, guys, thank you. Have a good week. Stay safe. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week.